Parkinson's disease is a progressive disorder. Signs and symptoms get worse over time. Today it's diagnosed based on the presence of motor features, slowness, stiffness, and tremor. We treat the symptoms and patients do pretty well for a number of years, but over the long term problems arise that we don't really have good medications for. So ultimately what we really need are ways to slow the progression of this disease. Ideally, what we'd like to do is identify the disease even before it causes slowness, stiffness, tremor, and introduce a medication that slows disease then. Now, as it turns out, by the time a person develops slowness, stiffness, and tremor, a person's lost at least 50 to 60% of their dopamine neurons, and dopamine in the brain is reduced by 50 to 60%. So a lot of the pathology is already present in the brain by the time we make the diagnosis today. There's a lot of loss of neurons, and the dopamine chemical is greatly diminished. So a lot of investigation over the last 10 years or so has helped to identify a number of so-called premotor features of Parkinson's disease, things that occur in Parkinson's disease that occur before people get slowness, stiffness, and tremor. One of those is decreased sense of smell. It turns out that about 90% of individuals by the time they develop slowness, stiffness, tremor have decreased sense of smell. Now, decreased sense of smell is not specific to Parkinson's disease. It occurs in other degenerative diseases, including Alzheimer's disease, but it's a very important premotor symptom in Parkinson's disease. And one of the things that we and others have worked on is, can we identify individuals who have decreased sense of smell? And if they do, can they go on to get a dopamine brain scan? And if the dopamine brain scan shows decreased dopamine, are these people who have Parkinson's disease in their brain who haven't yet shown slowness, stiffness, tremor, and if we follow them over time, will they? So perhaps in the future, maybe when you're 50, you'll go to your primary care doctor, maybe you'll get a smell test, and if your smell test is down, maybe you'll get scans for Parkinson's disease and Alzheimer's disease, and hopefully if we have medications to slow the progression of those diseases, perhaps that would be appropriate at that time. Another important premotor feature that has been discovered is so-called REM behavior disorder, or RBD. Normally we dream in REM sleep. REM sleep is rapid eye movement sleep, so if you look at your bed partner's eyes under the lid, when they're moving rapidly, that's when your partner is dreaming. Normally, when one dreams, one is atonic. That means just lying there perfectly still. There's sort of a shut-off switch from the brain that makes your muscles just completely relax when you're in REM sleep. However, people with REM behavior disorder lose that shut-off switch, so they start to act out their dreams. So the bed partner will say, my partner, while he's asleep, he'll be kicking and hitting, he'll be crying out in his sleep. That's REM behavior disorder. And we now know that that can occur for years, and in a few cases even decades, before people go on to develop slowness, stiffness, tremor. So this is another clue as to how to identify people who have Parkinson's disease in the brain before they get slowness, stiffness, tremor. And in the future, once we have medications to slow progression of disease, we'll be focusing on making that diagnosis even before those motor signs appear.